Welcome everybody. You have to excuse me for my voice tonight. I'm a little bit sick and my voice always gets a little bit worse in the evening, so we will just have to make do. I might have to mute myself here and there to cough, but let's go and take a look at the bracket. I believe we've had another game scheduled for today, but it hasn't been played yet, so we're gonna see Buku, 15th seed, playing against Sneez, 18th seed, and the winner will face Daniel, playing the old Han green. Very interesting. Just writing the players, give me one sec. Right. Yes, so Sneez is playing a Han2 green, pretty similar to what the swoop racers popularized with the go wide strategy, but we can dive deeper into that by taking a look at the lists. So we have Sneez's deck here. I think interesting cards, if you're not familiar with this deck, are the Mask Kanata, clone, what's it called? Clone Deserter and R2 combo. So you want to play like 3 1-drops on turn 1 with Han to get a mass up to 3/3, which can be quite good. And notable cards in this list that I haven't seen before at least is Arm to the Teeth. Pretty cool upgrade, which you also can smuggle in to kind of enable the go wide strategy. IG 11 is a card you would probably not expect to see in the meta deck, but it's quite good with ambush, being able to take out 2 units. And sorry, finally the top end, the Guerrilla Attack Pod, very easy to enable that grit and ready it with Han. So let's see what Buku is bringing. He's playing Sabine green. I have to say I am really fond of this list. However, there are no timely interventions in the main deck. I think timely is a super great card, but I think it's not gonna hurt for this matchup, since it probably won't go that long. It's a very aggro matchup which will be decided early, I think. 3 Darksabers, the 2 Sundari Peacekeepers are really going to help out. ECLing those in early might be just the edge you need to kind of have enough life on your base and put enough pressure to win the race. Other notable cards, the Rebel Pathfinder is a card that not everybody plays that card. Someone plays X-Wings, for instance, in Sabine, or even Ketsu Onyo, or some like the one he has in the side, what's it called, Spectre Soldier. But I think you all know how Sabine works, so we don't have to spend more time on this. I will let the players know we are ready, and we can jump into tabletop. Alright, so Sneez not getting that Mask Kanata. I'm not sure if it's as important in this matchup, because when you're facing Sabine with ECL, it's probably just going to die very quickly. And I think ECL in this matchup is not about the Wrecker and the Pose and the K2s. It's really more about getting a 2-for-1 early on in the game. And looks like Sneez won the initiative roll. That's going to be very, very important. The mulligan hand here, I would say, is a little bit better for Sneez, with 2 Heroic Renegades. And he decides to resource Mass. I think that's a great decision. Let me just see what... yeah, so... Buku puts down the A-Wing and Wrecker, I believe. I think that's also a good choice. For a cause, however, I don't think is a card that's gonna matter much, because you're never gonna be able to like completely empty the board. So often you're just gonna be spending your actions on actually attacking with units instead of playing it for a cause. But it might matter, or we will just see it be resourced early here. I would say right now I'm giving a little bit of a favor towards Han, the new Han, because of the Clone Deserter opening. Like, that card with Restore is just so great. I think that's something that like Buku has to respect. They probably have to ECL, like for instance Cassian, onto that Clone Deserter, because even though it's only the Restore 1, this matchup is a race, and that one healing over a couple of turns will probably be enough to make a deciding factor. Sorry, if you are tuning in, pardon my voice, I'm probably muting myself here and there because I have to cough, a little bit sick. But we're gonna see Buku deciding to attack with a wing first. That's always interesting when you have wing leader. I don't think there's that many cards that could punish the wing leader play here. I mean, you're of course then committing to a race you might not be able to win. So, okay. Buku decides not to use ECL. I guess it makes sense because he can just first action kill the Sentinel regardless, but I'm not sure. He is really going to need a great ECL for yeah, to kind of turn this game around. The Sabine flip, however, is gonna help a lot this turn. But you're already on the back foot, and I would say in many of these control, aggro mirrors, it's just about who can take the role as the beatdown. That's often who's going to win as well. As we see Björn here tuning in the chat saying Buku is cooked. Yeah, I probably have to agree a little bit. We will see how they can stabilize after the flip turn. Would be really good to have a Sundari Peacekeeper, for instance, to ECL in this turn. But with 14 damage on the base already, it does not look good. And Poe is probably going to hit the board this turn as well from Sneez's side. So that's very scary. Thinking about it. Like, wing leader, I would say, is not that good in the aggro mirror because you're kind of spreading your power over 2 actions. So the Darksaber, for instance, is you have like more consecrated power, is like putting 4 power on 1 unit instead of 2 on one and 2 on another. And these games can often be decided by a single action. So Sneez is kind of forced to just play Poe here. He doesn't want to give up the initiative. I mean, he could pass. I wonder what Buku would have done then. Probably just attacked one of the Clone Deserters. But then, again, Sneez would have played Poe, and then Buku could claim. So Poe was kind of a magnet for the Sabine attack, which is still fine, because then Sneez now has 3 units on the board. He will at least get 2 attacks in, and Han deploys this turn. So that's going to put Buku quite close to 25 damage on their base. Sorry, pardon me. Alright, back. Yeah, Heroic Renegade going for to base makes a lot of sense. Now Poe is going to be able to clean up both of those deserters. So if I were in Buku's position here, I would definitely discard more cards to make Sneez discard a card. Yeah, and he does that. That's a great choice, because Han has a tendency to run low on cards. And Buku can now draw 2 from Bounty. So, Buku has managed to stabilize a little bit. The question is, will Sneez have the reach? He does not play for a cause. Let me just double check that before I say something wrong. Yeah, no for a cause, but he does play Reckless Gunslinger. And from what I can see, there is one Reckless Gunslinger among the resources there. Gonna see that Gunslinger being played now, dealing 1 to each base. Yeah, looks like Sneez is kind of forgetting. Gunslinger deals 1 to each base. And Sabine attack trigger. Yeah, it's easy to miss. I think this might be like Sneez's first time in the top cut, for instance, so it's very easy to get a little bit nervous and play fast as well. That's good, of course, for us, but the positive thing with playing online is that you don't have the tight time restriction as you have in tournaments. It doesn't really matter for aggro mirror regardless, but if you're playing control, then that's definitely something you have to deal with. So feels a little bit better playing Palpatine on TTI compared to a big tournament. Okay, we're gonna see Maas being resourced here. Interestingly, Sneez has not used their energy conversion lab, and we might see that coming into play now, because IG, oh no, their card got discarded. Oh yeah, that's a big misplay from Sneez's side there. He should not have resourced Maas, because then he would have had another card to toss. Ooh, this is not looking good. Because ECL on IG would have been pretty good there, because IG says on attack you may deal 3 damage to a damaged unit. So IG basically would have killed Poe without taking any damage back. And now I think it's GG, because there's 8 damage left on 8 health, I mean, on Sneez's base, and Poe can attack for 8. I mean, Sneez can, of course, top deck a Poe or a Wrecker even. Yeah, Wrecker would be lethal. That would be very cool to see. Looks like he's thinking it through. I don't think he has any smuggle cards, but we'll have to see. Alright, and there we go. K2SO for the win. Lucky top deck there, so the misplay was saved in the end. And we will move on to sideboarding. We can take a look at decks. Give me 1 second. So interestingly, Sneez has some expensive cards here in the sides. Crate Dragons, for instance. I don't think they will see much play. I don't think he has anything in the side for Sabine, really. Tech is not gonna help out. Scanning Officer is something to play on turn 1, I guess, but he already has so many 2-drops to combine with the 1-drops. I don't think he will be siding anything in. There could be, if there was some card he thought was too slow here, maybe. Maybe he doesn't like Mass because it just gets taken out that easily. He could put in, I don't know, a home 1 in case the game drags out. It can matter if there's a stalemate, but I don't think we'll see that. Looks like it does look like he is sideboarding. From what I can see on tabletop here, so it's gonna be interesting to maybe ask him after the game. Let's take a look at Buku's lists. Timely Intervention. Is that good in this matchup? I think it's a great card, like, regardless. And it's probably better than some of the cards. Like, I would side out the Four of Causes easily. Maybe adding the 2 what's it called, Timelies, and maybe Mercenary Gunship to have something to ECL and kill an A-Wing. Bright Hope could be good, but I think it's a little bit too slow. I don't think it's gonna help you win the race. Okay, let's jump back. The players are starting again. Looks like Sneez has been resourcing a Gunslinger and Echo-based Defender. Having a pretty decent opening hand here with the Heroic Renegade we saw last game, doing a lot of work. However, Sabine is probably the best card Buku could start with, because it can just freely kill so many of Sneez's units. Resourcing R2 and Poe. Yeah, I think Poe is good, but I think you would rather use ECL early. Yeah, Sabine is a very good card to ECL in, but it's not gonna help now because Buku is starting with the initiative. Of course, he could ping first, bait out the unit, and then do a favorable trade with ECL, but he might as well just keep ECL when he has the chance. And Sneez decides to play Heroic Renegade as is. That kind of makes sense because it would just get killed by the Sabine ping. That's why Sabine is kind of so good here. Yeah, we have a comment from Björn here in the live stream that Sneez might be bringing in Scanning Officers to punish Timely Intervention and Cassian, and that's absolutely true. Could be a good line, but I think it's very unlikely we'll have that happen, but could be a reason to bring that card in, actually. Okay, so Sabine normally would eat 2 3s alive, but right here, since Heroic Renegade has grit, it actually can't just freely kill it. It will deal 1 damage first, triggering the grit, and then when they actually deal damage to each other, Heroic Renegade will be 3-2. So Buku will of course go to the base and just play their Cassian. We're gonna see Mass now finally being played safely this time, because Buku is all out of resources, and Sneez has 2 1-drops, so this is really good. Putting Mass up to a 3-3. You're gonna see Yeah, we didn't have time to check out that card, but with R2's effect, a card was put on the bottom. That's always nice when you can remove a card you don't want to draw. Ooh, and here we have the Sneez3e Peacekeeper top cut from Buku. That not top cut, top deck. Sorry, that's really good. Sorry. Yeah, as I said, Sneez3e Peacekeeper is just a great card to ECL because you get that healing, you take out a unit, and it can really put you in a great position to win the race. The thing is, it's a little bit awkward right now with 4 resources. A K2 is probably just better because you can get value from Overwhelm and have that when defeated effect for later. But we're gonna see what Buku decides to do. Sneez decides to play their own K2, overwhelming on Sabine there. And now we're on a even ground on damage, but Sneez has 4 units on the board. That is pretty crazy. But it makes sense to take out the clone deserter before it gets to heal. And as I mentioned earlier, the K2 is gonna do a lot of work later. No reason for Sneez to do any trading here, so it's just pushing damage to the base. And whether or not to ping is always difficult in these aggro mirrors, at least I think so. Sneez could do that here, but he's just gonna deploy, opting for maybe a little safer route, and then killing K2 with Sabine. So that's 3 damage from the when defeated effect, and Sneez ends up with the initiative. Both players now having used their ECL, which means that Poe in Sneez's hand is not going to be as good, but there's still a lot of remaining health, so it's definitely going to get an attack next turn. Interestingly, Sneez decides to go base with the heroic Renegade. You could argue it would have been good to kill Sabine there, so the Renegade would kind of activate its grit and go up to a 4/1. Oh yeah, seeing a comment here about the bounty trigger being missed. Yeah, I think as you said, I won't intervene now. I was kind of busy yapping. He did not miss it last game, so yeah, as I said, these games are played really fast and with a little bit on stake, so might be a little nervous and missing some triggers here and there. Yeah, but as I was mentioning, you could argue killing Sabine would have been good, since both of Sneez's units would survive. But we are going to see many options for the 3 drops here. Buku decides to use Wing Leader on K2. That is pretty good because he's going to be able to just kill Han straight out of the bat. Problem is now there's a Poe hitting the board, and you have no clean answers to that Poe, so Sneez is kind of pressuring Buku to just claim here, because K2 into Poe is the only good action that Buku could take. So he misses out on those 2 resources. Could have played an A-Wing, but it's not worth playing that A-Wing when the Poe could get a really good, like, 3/1 here with the discard attack. So we are seeing kind of the same thing as we did last game, where Sneez's hand is really weak, because that Han deck just plays so many cheap units. So even like playing 3 cards in one turn. So they're down to 2 cards now, but we might have something to smuggle. And here we go, we're going to see the Renegade finally killing Sabine, which means that Cassian cannot like free kill that anymore. That's going to be a trade. But we have some pretty nice cards on Buku's side. The Fleet Lieutenant would of course work on Cassian. I guess I would put that to base maybe, since it's not really worth getting rid of R2. We're gonna see R2 taking out Cassian regardless, triggering on attack. I'm just gonna do a friendly reminder there. So now it would be nice to have a timely intervention to use on the Zendara Peacekeeper, getting a 2-for-1 and getting that restore in. Looks like he's opting for K2. In this position, I think I would have gone for the Peacekeeper. Ooh, Cassian being smuggled here, that's really great. Since Sneez3e's hand was kind of bad, to put it plainly. So Buku is leading the race, but Cassian hitting for 3 now means that it's gonna be quite close. The good thing about K2 here though is that Heroic Renegade has 4 power and only 1 life, so that's kind of the maximum potential of K2. Overwhelming for 3, then triggering when defeated. So that would be like 6 in total damage, putting Sneez to 22 damage on their base. And now Sneez kind of being forced to claim means that Buku will get to play their A-Wing. So it does not look good right now. That A-Wing can hit for 5 with the Fleet Lieutenant, and that's just a ping away from game. So probably GG's. We have a question here. Does the Han deck run any Rebel Assaults? It does not, if I remember correctly. Let's see. No. There are 2 Heroic Sacrifice and 1 Heroic Resolve. And 2 Armed to the Teeth. Interesting. I don't think Sneez has drawn any of those yet. But let's just go back to the game and see what's up. Sorry about the cough, guys. Okay. For a cause being put down, that's a easy choice. I think interesting to see Buku not siding those out. I don't think they're a good card in the Sabine mirror or like in this matchup as well. But maybe he didn't think any of the sideboard cards were worth putting in. Alright, so not that good of a start for Sneez here. He has some 3-drops he could play, so he could choose between space and ground. I think the Fighters for Freedom would be the best start, because anything that Sabine can ECL will die in return when it attacks a 3-2. But if Sneez decides to play red 3 as a 2-1, then like an A-Wing could just ECL and survive, right? Because of the 2 power. So this does not look good. I think maybe Sneez did a mulligan while we were looking at the deck lists. Would make sense. And he does start with the Fighter for Freedom. I think that's a good choice. Because it's gonna trade with whatever ground units Sabine has. Right, Battlefield Marine. I guess I don't know right now what's better actually. On this board state it doesn't really matter, but maybe Sabine could have been good in case we're gonna see like an heroic renegade hit the board or something like that. But it's completely fine with the Marine. Alright. Red 3 being resourced. We have another Fighters for Freedom in Sneez3e's hand. It's not the best, but it's actually quite strong, because if you get 2 damage off of each red card you play, that's gonna be a lot of damage. So you're kind of forcing Buku to kill those. You can't let them stick. And now Buku is thinking whether or not to ECL Fighters for Freedom, maybe. Could be a good line, but he decides to just join the race and go for the base. And here we're gonna see another card being played without ECL, so interesting. I think that's completely okay from Sneez3e's side, because those Fighters for Freedom are going to put in so much damage with all of the aggression cards in the hand of Sneez. So I don't think he's the one who really needs to be trading here. But Sabine tends to be a little bit faster with the initiative right now, with the current board state. K2 is gonna get a pretty good overwhelm target here. So he probably has to respect and start trading a little bit. Okay, he decides to go for the healthy Fighters for Freedom. I guess it makes sense, because then he won't get a 2-for-1 with that one. He's missing out on 2 damage to the base, but he's in a good position to kind of win the race. Ooh, interesting, we're seeing Poe here. I would say that's a pretty good play, because he knows if Buku wants to kill Poe, he has to sacrifice both the Fleet Lieutenant and Sabine into it, right? Alright, getting a comment here. Sorry, just reading your chat. Yeah, okay. Talking a little bit about how much I'm intervening as a commentary. That is true. But I think when it comes to like triggers that are mandatory, I think it's fine to just take the role as a, not as a judge, but to help them out a little bit, because it can be easy to overlook some details. But okay, as I was saying, Sneez does play Poe, which is quite interesting. He could have played K2 and taken out the fleet, stopping 3 damage at least this turn. But considering how wide the board is, I guess Poe is a good angle, because you will be able to take out 2 units now. But I don't think it will be enough though, because we see Rebel Assault in Buku's hand, which is going to hit in for 8 damage. Yeah, so Sneez decides to use IG, which basically does the same thing that Poe does. So that's 3 damage from K2, and then 8 damage from the 2 rebels, putting Sneez to 26 and concluding the series. So even though Han got game 1, it's gonna be interesting to ask. I'm gonna just ask them, GG guys, if anyone did the sideboard. just because I'm really curious. Yeah, Spec Force Soldier. That's something we saw there. And taking out Arm to the Teeth and Heroic Resolve, interesting. Yeah, taking out Wrecker, I think that's a really good shout actually, because Wrecker has a lot of potential, but these games are decided way before turn 6, right? Okay, so it looks like Björn, you were right. What were they called? Officers got put in, but didn't matter. So let's take a look at the bracket. Sneez is going to get knocked out since there's a single elimination, and Buku will face Daniel, playing a old Han green as a very I would say clean list, a lot of 3-offs. Let me see if I can find it real quick. There it is, yeah. I think this is a list that's decently positioned into aggro. He has the Spark of Hopes, which he can probably pull off. Oh yeah, there's another match now. Thanks for tuning in, Björn. Thanks for the comments. Always fun seeing some interaction there. I don't remember who's playing. I think I know the names. If I just look at the bracket, I'll probably remember. Spatpad, I think. Yeah, Spatpad and IOUCOUNOUJR. I do not know how to pronounce that name. Is playing. So Bobo 1 green. Let's check that out. So I think Rebel Traitor is streaming that one, so definitely check it out. Pretty late game list actually, with Walkers and Relentless in main. Change of Heart also in main. I like the Bounty Hunter focus here. A lot of Bobas now. Oh, sorry guys, I'm having the wrong scene in OBS. Yeah, so this is the Boba that's gonna play right now, streamed by Rebel Traitor. Pretty cool list. I think the Star Vipers is something you don't see as much anymore, but in the Sabine meta we live in, it's probably a pretty good idea. Okay, Björn's now writing, we're seeing the bracket, probably because the chat's a little bit delayed for me. Okay, but I'm out of time anyway. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys, and see you in the next one.